Hey MW, I'm Melissa.
And I'm Stephanie CARCACHE, and we are two sisters and the founders of Millennial Women.
And your host of Millennial Women Talk, the podcast. We are so grateful that you're sharing your time with us today.
By tuning into this episode, you are investing in becoming the best version of you, and we are just thrilled to be on this journey together.
In today's episode of Millennial Women Talk, we welcome Demi Leigh Tebow. Demi is best known for being Miss Universe 2017, representing her home country of South Africa on the global stage. She is a fearless advocate for anti-human trafficking through her husband's foundation, the Tim Tebow Foundation. She is also a board member of their anti-human trafficking ministry, Her Song. She shares how she was the victim of a carjacking in Johannesburg, South Africa, shortly after winning Miss South Africa, and how that moment fuels her mission to save as many victims as possible.
On this episode, we chat with Demi about her mission to end human trafficking, what it means to have God confidence. We also talked about honoring her sister who was born with a disability, and she also shared with us that her sister did play a role in her and Tim meeting and ultimately falling in love. So sweet. She is one inspirational woman, and here is our conversation with Demi Leigh Tebow.
Okay, Demi, so you are best known for being Miss Universe 2017, and now you're known for your incredible work in the fight to end human trafficking with your Unbreakable campaign and so much more. But I want to start today's chat with one of my favorite talks that you've ever done. And honestly, it's the main reason why I told Steph, I was like, we need to get Demi on the show because I just love her energy and her perspective. So you talk about having God confidence. It's not about having self-confidence, it's about having God confidence. What do you mean by that? Can you elaborate on that?
Well, first of all, I'm so grateful to be on your show. You guys look amazing and just so honored that you guys have invited me. So thank you so much. Yes, I think for a long time, I was introduced as Miss Universe and your name kind of comes last. A lot of people don't even know your name, till this day. So many times I'm introduced as, hey, this is Meet Miss Universe. And you kind of just want to be like, no, I have a name. But although I'm, so grateful for that platform and for the title of being Miss Universe and the experience of being Miss Universe and the ability to represent my home country, South Africa, that was probably one of the greatest honors of my life to walk on that stage and carry the South African flag high. I think it does come with some obstacles too. Like the title comes with a lot of obstacles because, like I said, for so long, that is kind of what people define you as. They place you in this box of you have to be this, do this, look a certain way, act a certain way. You know how that is. You kind of have this ideal of what that person or that title holder should be. And I think we're I don't want to speak for anyone else, but I know I'm guilty of doing that when I see an actor or a businesswoman or a mom, it's so easy to define people according to their roles or their titles instead of, the person that they are. And for a long time, there's a saying, the more you hear something, the more you start believing it. And I think for a long time, I kind of believed all the stereotypes that people were defining me as. And when I handed over my title as Miss Universe back in 2018, it just instantly drops. That title instantly falls away. That crown is instantly on the next person's head. That role is instantly defined to a new person. And I kind of had to walk off that stage and be like, oh, wow. Well, what's next? Where to now? And I think for a long time, that was something that I really struggled with, was just figuring out what it is that Demi likes, not Miss Universe, not Miss South Africa, but what Demi likes, what she wants to do, what she wants to work on, accomplish. And, it's taken some time. It's taken a lot of prayer. It's taken a lot of patience. It's taken a lot of just trusting in God that He has a perfect plan and purpose for my life. And although the Bible tells us that, I think it's a whole different story to actually believe that and trust that. Absolutely. And be focused on that, So some time had passed and I realized, well, Demi, everyone says that you need self-confidence, you need, self-confidence to do good, accomplish things. And yeah, I might have had self-confidence to achieve certain things in my life, but I realized what is going to sustain me, what is going to be there when my self-confidence is no longer there, when I no longer wear a sash or a crown or a pretty dress or pretty makeup or a pretty hairdo. It's going to be my God confidence. And by replacing that word self with God and fully relying and fully trusting on the plan and purpose that God has for your life, I think that is when we can have God confidence. And that is what will be there when the days come when you don't have as much self-confidence.
I love that. It's like, because we are so wonderfully and beautifully and perfectly made by the Creator. And we have to remember that we are perfect because of Him, right? And so it's true what you said, no makeup, no hairdo, no crown will define the greatness that's in us. It's not an exterior thing, it's a spiritual thing,
and you know what? It's like, it's so powerful what you just said, because I think so many women can relate to being so enwrapped in a role, right? For you, it was being Miss Universe. For another woman could be the role of a mother or,
CEO,
right,
or something.
her job. And so I love that you're saying that you struggled with that, because I feel so many people can relate to, what am I outside of my role? Who am I outside of my role? And so, when Mel was the one that was like, we have to have Demi on. And then I became obsessed and was like all up on your Instagram. And I'm like, we have to have her. And, I really told her, I was like, what I really want is to really get to know Demi. And so when I'm hearing you say that, that was kind of something you struggle with, I really think you're doing a phenomenal job in allowing us to know who Demi is. And so I want to give you the opportunity now to really tell us and also our listeners, like, who is Demi? Like, what are you passionate about in this new chapter in your life? What gets you up in the morning? What are you motivated to do every single day?
Yeah, Stephanie, I love what you said. I think once again, what we do is not who we are necessarily. Our roles, the things that we do is not necessarily the people that we are. And there's, I kind of sometimes feel like jack of all trades. I studied business management and entrepreneurship, and I'm working on launching a couple of projects very soon. So just recently worked so hard on launching a website. That was so exciting. And there's some fun projects coming along with all of that. I think I'm a dog mom, I'm a wife, I'm a business owner, just all these things in one, right? So I don't know if there's one thing I can pinpoint you to, but I think something that also determines a lot about who we are as people are the things that we are passionate about, the things that we share in morals and values, and the things that we see as our non-negotiables. And so back in, and I also think a lot that defines us could be our experiences, the things that I do believe that we are a product of our choices, but not our circumstances, but our circumstances can sometimes lead to the choices that we make, right? And so back in 2017, something that was pretty much a very pivotal point in my life and defining a big part of, I think, who I am today was a horrific carjack that I ended up getting away from. I was held at gunpoint by 5 armed men. And to make a long story short, I managed to fight my way out of that situation by attending self-defense workshops and safety driving courses that my dad kind of forced me to go on before I was allowed to drive by myself. And, just having parents that really just cared a lot and wanted, might have been overprotective in many people's eyes, maybe sometimes my own eyes. But today I'm so grateful for, just how much they cared and how much overprotective they were in various instances. I managed to escape that situation because I remember 2 things that I had learned previously, and that was to never go to the second destination because it would probably not get better than the first destination, the big avenue you were on. And with that being said, it was broad daylight, peak hour traffic, 5:30 in the afternoon on a big avenue with about four lanes each way. But not to get too much into that, I managed to escape that situation.
Wow.
And long story short, you know, I think that situation broke my heart for so many women worldwide, because I realized that that's not the outcome for way too many people. Way too many people do not make it out of that. And that opened my eyes to the horrific evil of human trafficking. You know, I don't ever want to speculate. I don't ever want to make myself a victim. You know, I don't know what could have happened in that, you know, situation if I didn't get away. But that really broke my heart for people worldwide. It opened my eyes to this evil of human trafficking. It made me dig deeper, do research. And today, you know, we learned that estimated 40.3 million people are trapped in human trafficking. Human trafficking is modern day slavery, pretty much. And, you know, I just said, not on my watch, not when I can do something about this. I'm not going to just let this go when I have the ability, a platform to do something and fight for something much bigger than myself. And so that is something that I'm extremely passionate about. And it's, you know, one of the biggest honors of my life to be able to fight alongside my husband against this evil. So that's something that, you know, I think so much more people need to be aware of, because it's not spoken about enough. It's not a comfortable topic to speak about. And so I think it's easier for a lot of people to just turn a blind eye, turn, you know, a cold shoulder to this topic, but that's not the case for me.
And I want to talk about it because I think, I mean, when you say that number, like 40 million people, that's a lot of people. And that is in every single country. And, you know, we live in Florida and we've been hearing more cases. And it's something that if you don't know, you don't know. It's like what you're saying, we don't talk about it. And it's just so important for us to talk about it. So I would love, you know, for us to
dig a little bit deeper about sort of like the work that you're initiating with this. I know you have an Unbreakable campaign and you have several things that are raising awareness, but I would love to know about how you're raising awareness and also the practical tips or the things that you're doing to help, so that way we can be educated enough and then help you along with your mission.
Yeah, Mal and Steph, you know, like you said, when you don't know, you don't know. But now, you know, everyone listening to this, you no longer don't know. Now it's a choice you make to not do anything about it, to not, you know, be a helping hand. When I ran away from the guys who carjacked me, I knocked on about 30, 40 car windows, ran to the next traffic light in my 6-inch heels because I was on my way to an event that evening as the reigning Miss South Africa. And do you want to take a guess on how many people stopped to help me?
Nobody?
Nobody. Not one single vehicle stopped. It was peak hour, bumper to bumper traffic in Johannesburg, broad daylight. I mean, I ran by people with their windows open. They could hear me. You know, I was well dressed, hairdo, in a cocktail dress, on my way to an event as the reigning Miss South Africa, and nobody would stop to help me. And to me, you know, that was so sad. I kept running, looking back, not knowing if I was going to be shot in the back, if someone else was going to kidnap me, I didn't know what these guys' intentions were. You know, were they there for my vehicle? Were they there for me? So I just remembered, like, keep running, just keep going, not really knowing where I was going to, keep yelling, screaming for help. No one would stop for me. And eventually a young girl, she was about 19 years old at the time, pulled over all of the way from the other lane, opened her little car windows, an old little car, the windows, you know, still the car, you have to roll the windows down. And she leaned over and she said, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" And I said, "No, I've been carjacked. Please help me." And she leaned over and she opened the car knob that she still had to like pull out. And she, you know, and she leaned over and she opened the door and she let me in and she got me to a safe space. And, you know, after working through that whole incident, obviously had gone for trauma counseling, etc. And after working through that incident, I just, you know, I realized I don't want to be one of the 30, 40 cars that roll up their window, that pretend not to hear when someone is asking for help, that, you know, they rather just want to get home than to lend a helping hand. I want to be that girl that is saying, yes, here I am, use me with what I've got to do your work, Lord, to be a helping hand to someone else. And, you know, she was such a big inspiration to me that she had, you know, pretty much risked her own safety to come to my aid. And that whole incident, like you mentioned, led to me starting a campaign called Unbreakable. After that incident, I had so many people reach out saying, Demi, how did you know what to do? How did you get away from that situation? So many moms saying, we heard that you did the self-defense workshop. What self-defense workshop did you do? I want my daughter to do that. And I realized that, wow, there's such a big need for, you know, women wanting to feel empowered, mothers wanting to know that they teach their daughters what to do in a situation like that. And so I started this Unbreakable campaign. I was Miss South Africa at the time, and the Miss South Africa organization was so amazing. And they, you know, helped me to set this up literally within days. And we did a little tour around South Africa. We were able to reach thousands of women. I partnered with self-defense experts because I'm, of course, not the expert. And we were able to empower women, girls, mothers, daughters all around South Africa with the practical skills, tools, and knowledge on how to prevent, you know, a dangerous situation from happening, how to prevent getting yourself in a dangerous situation. And sometimes that can be things so obvious, like, hey, if something feels wrong, it probably is wrong. Don't get in that elevator. Don't walk down that dark alley alone at night. And it's so sad. I don't want to be teaching girls that. I don't want to be instilling fear, you know, into women. But unfortunately, we have to look out for ourselves. And sometimes as women, I think, you know, in a society, it's like, oh, don't make a big deal about that. But sometimes things need to be made a big deal about because they are a big deal. And so that was really awesome. And when I won Miss Universe and moved to New York, the Miss Universe organization totally bought into my Unbreakable campaign, and we were able to host a whole lot more here in the US, pretty much on the East Coast. And so Unbreakable has kind of taken a little bit of a pause, me moving to a new continent, getting married, being a dog mom, starting a couple of companies. But it's definitely something that I'm working on restarting pretty soon. So I'll keep you guys posted and let you guys know.
We would love that because, you know, you said something really interesting. You know, there's a fine line between being educated about what we need to know to protect ourselves and not having fear, right? So what we don't want to do is obviously install fear because we want to be able to live our life to its fullest, right? And what it's meant to be lived. But at the same time, we have to be educated. We have to listen to our instinct. We have to learn how to communicate within our own selves to know, like how you mentioned, don't get in the elevator, don't go down this pathway, right? What are some tactical, you know, tips that you can offer us women to protect ourselves, or really just to be aware, not to live in fear, but to live in awareness?
And also, like, when you speak about self-defense, is that like a specific martial art type of self-defense?
Such good questions. Such good questions. First of all, I just want to be so clear. I'm not an expert. I'm not a martial artist. I wish I was. And
no, it actually makes it better that you're not an expert because it makes us be like, we could defend ourselves.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, I've done so many different courses, self-defense courses that are pretty much martial art based, courses that are just more from an empowerment standpoint, where, you know, people from law enforcement have informed us about, you know, knowing what our rights are and being able to act on things like that. You know, I think something that out of experience I learned and should have known better, you know, in that moment, I was like, Demi, how could you have been so stupid? Really, it's you did not even think twice about this. I was Miss Universe living in New York, and I was so excited. I found this South African restaurant uptown on like 93rd Street, and I was so excited to like have a good South African meal, right? And I just, you know, took out my phone and did a couple of stories, like we all do, right? And I posted it, tagged, place, super excited, haven't been home in months, South African meal. And the next moment, a couple of people walked into the restaurant and asked me for a picture. They're like, oh, are you Demi? We saw your story. Can we have a picture? And thank goodness they were just, you know, people that follow the Miss Universe pageant, that have followed my journey, and it was lovely meeting them. But I was like, what if they weren't, you know, what if they weren't? And I think in today's society, we live on our phones, and I would just love to encourage all the listeners today to be aware of that. I've made a rule to myself that I will never post something once I'm in a location. I will take that story, I will save it, because we can do that, or I will just take a video on my camera and I'll post it later once I've left the location. So I think that's something so easy that, you know, what does it matter whether you post something instantly or in 10 minutes once you've left? You know, it's not going to make that big of a difference to your social media career.
100%.
That is so important to point out.
And honestly, it's for the everyday woman, because we personally, so when I was on the Nickelodeon show, they taught us that before we started shooting, and we started doing press, the team of Nickelodeon trained us about this in particular. And I had never thought about it. It's like, oh yeah, you're right. But then sometimes I wonder, like, who cares about me? Like, who's going to show up? Like, so you don't know who's watching.
And you know,
and a friend of ours, that happened to her. She's a normal person, tagged it, and some guy showed up at the coffee shop that she was with because she had tagged it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so it is scary. And other things that just to be aware, like you said, I love that you said awareness and not fear. Don't live in fear, but live in awareness. How many times do we, you know, I think maybe growing up in South Africa, unfortunately, the crime rate is a lot higher where I come from. And, you know, I think I've just grown up differently, looking at the world differently, which can sometimes be a great and sometimes just be a sad thing. But, you know, it's also, do you notice what car is driving behind you? Do you pull into your driveway, open your garage door, close your garage door before you get out of the car? Are you checking your surroundings? Has that car behind you made 3 of the same turns that you've made? Are you going to the grocery store late at night? I try and, you know, if I have to quickly, half and half ran out, need some milk, you know, run to the grocery store, and I try and park where there's spotlights or to an entrance where there's cameras, right?
Were we raised by the same mother?
I don't know, maybe.
Our mom, it's like, she even went as far as like, you have to walk with the keys in your hand. Like, really, really. And you know, it never really made us fearful. And I totally relate and resonate when you're saying we don't want to create fear into girls and women, right? It's because it can easily become that. Now it's like, it's just about finding a mental space of awareness and being empowered by that. Not necessarily fearful, but already being empowered that, okay, I'm aware, I know my surroundings, you know, and if you do take a martial art or a self-defense course, it should make you feel empowered, not paranoid.
I love that. I totally love that. And it reminds me of just another example. You know, sometimes my signal fails and my GPS cuts out, and I'm learning, we live in Jacksonville, and I'm learning the streets and stuff, but I was like, Demi, you need to know how to get home without relying on technology, right? And I think we can so easily rely on someone else or something else other than our own abilities. And, you know, my dad made me practice how to change my own tire before I was allowed to drive by myself. I don't need to rely on AAS, or call a friend. I'm independent. I can do this myself. I know that I need to check that I have a spare tire in my car, that I don't end up in an unwanted situation, so that I have gas in my car, that I don't run out of gas. Sometimes that happens, but little things.
Tell me about it.
Just by being aware, just by doing a little bit of research, looking up before you go to a new town, new city, knowing the area that you will be in. I think that is little things that we can all do that take 5 minutes.
I love it because it's practical and it's realistic, right? It's things that we can all do. I don't know, you have mentioned this, I brought this to my mind too. Like when I travel, I do always look at the Google Maps and I look at the surroundings of where I'm staying and what restaurants and where I'm going to be working if I'm shooting something. So it's always just good to be prepared. And I love that you are literally giving practical everyday tips that people can apply in their life. This is so, so good.
So good. So
we have to ask you about your relationship, but I'm going to let this to Steph because Steph's like the whole, like, she loves love stories.
I'm a sucker for love stories. I'm a hopeless romantic. But so Tim Tebow Foundation, were you doing that at the same time? Like you were doing the Unbreakable campaign and he was already doing the Tim Tebow Foundation? Because when I'm hearing you speak, you're very passionate about, you know, human trafficking and ending it and also creating awareness, but so is he. So I would love to know, like, how that aligned. Did it happen before? And then, you know, the angels brought you guys together to do this together. Like, I would love to know more about that.
Well, it actually was a little angel that brought us together. So the story is I had a little sister with special needs. Her name is Franje, and the 4th of May, she celebrated her 2nd heaven anniversary. So she passed away 2 years ago. And so at the time I was living in New York. It was, I'd won Miss Universe a couple months earlier. And I did a lot of, you know, the media, Good Morning America, whatever. And I always, you know, if people asked me if I had siblings, I would tell them about my sister. And so the Tim Tebow Foundation, their goal and mission is to fight for people that can't fight for themselves. And that includes fighting for people with special needs. And they have a program, one of their ministries is called Night to Shine. And it's basically a worldwide prom for people with special needs. And the year I was Miss Universe was the first year that they hosted Night to Shine in South Africa as well. I think it's in over 35 countries worldwide now. So South Africa is one of them. Obviously my home country. And I think somehow Tim saw an interview I did, spoke about my sister, and reached out and invited my sister to attend Night to Shine. And so me being South African, I had never seen any form of football, baseball, basketball, none of that. Had never heard of him. I really didn't. So this guy reached out to me inviting my sister, my 11-year-old sister, to Night to Shine, to this prom. And I'm like, well, hang on, what prom are you inviting my 10-year-old sister to? So I was like, well, here's my email address. You can send me an email with all the details. And so he did. And I was like, hang on, this is actually really cool. And, you know, Franje is my only blood sibling. And as a family, it was very hard for us because our community pretty much left us. I think a lot of times people want to help, but they don't know what the right thing is to say. They don't know what the right thing is to do. So they rather choose to do nothing at all, right? And as a family, we felt very secluded, very alone. And I was like, well, this is so cool. This is literally a community for families who, you know, experience the same situation. And so I was like, I'd love to learn more. And we set up a phone call. I called him Tim Tebow. I had no idea how to say his name. So I set up a call with this guy, Tim Tebow.
Do you still call him that for fun, just to tease him?
Yeah, sometimes.
That is so funny.
Mostly when he does something silly, I'll be like, Tim Tebow.
You could be like, I'm Mrs. Tim Tebow. I love it.
Pretty funny. Long story short, and we set up a phone call, and our first phone call was something like 2 hours, 24 minutes, and 6 seconds. And we just never stopped talking after that. So that's how we met. But so really a little angel that introduced us to each other. But yes, at that time I had started my Unbreakable campaign, and Tim had been involved with human trafficking for a bunch of years. But it's pretty much always just been, you know, kind of under the radar. It's obviously for safety reasons, etc. But we just realized last year in COVID, human trafficking just really exploded because so many victims were trapped with their traffickers. They weren't able to, you know, get out of their circumstances. They weren't able to make emergency calls. it's so sad, but the sexual online exploitation of children in various countries, the Philippines is one of them, just really exploded because families found themselves very vulnerable. A lot of the times families end up selling their own children. And, you know, so many families went through so much hardship during COVID, as we all know. And we just realized if we're going to be able to even make a dent, you know, in this evil, one of the biggest evils we believe we're facing today, we're going to need people. We're going to need people to say, yes, I'm in, I'm with you, I want to fight with you. We're going to need that support. And so we have actively just been going much deeper in this fight in the last, I would say, year and a half. And today I'm a board member of Her Song, which is a ministry of the Tim Tebow Foundation. You know, we actively fight against this evil and just hoping to do more and to reach as many people as possible worldwide.
I love that. That's so amazing. You know, I love everything that you stand for. And it's, you know, talk about God's perfect timing, right? Because he literally like put the right partner into your life to make all of these things, these callings that were placed in your heart, just not make them happen, but amplify them as a team, right? And you said something in an interview once that really touched me. And I shared it with Steph. So I'm engaged, and Steph currently is on the search for God's,
for my man.
Yeah, for God's perfect man for her. But you said something so powerful, and I shared it with her, and I would love for you to kind of elaborate on it. And you basically said that you were already complete before Tim came into your life. He just added to your life. He didn't complete you. So can you elaborate on that? And also, you know, is there a message that you can share for women that are currently in a season of singleness?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how God prepares us for the things that are to come. And in that moment, you know, when I experienced that carjack, or when I lost my sister, those were two of the, you know, biggest things and the hardest things that I've had to endure in my life, but how those things have prepared me for the moment I'm living in right now. And the things that I'm able to take on now with my husband, you know, things that I would never have even dreamt of. You know, I think we might have big dreams for our lives, but God has perfect dreams for our lives. And, you know, I believe that, you know, we have a list. I think as girls, we kind of all have that list of, my future husband has to be this, this, and this.
Yes.
And then when
the laundry list.
Right. Yeah. And then when I met him, it's like, well, God's like, well, here's a few other items that you never even thought of that I'm just adding to the list, you know? So just a kind of like bonus item. So a season of singleness, you know, is hard, and it can be lonely sometimes. And I think, you know, I think as humans, we have been made and created to share our lives with people, with one another. I think COVID taught us that so much, so many times over, that we are created for community. And that season of singleness can be hard. You can be so focused on the person that you want to find instead of the person that you want to be.
Right.
Instead of, you know, becoming the wife that you one day want to be. I know that I found myself in that I was so focused on that laundry list, as you called it, that I totally forgot about the things that I needed to work on to be able to be a good wife one day, to be able to, you know, hopefully one day be a good mother. Right now I'm focused on my 3 dogs, and they are let me tell you.
I can imagine.
You know, so, but they're the sweetest things. They bring us so much joy. But I just encourage it, you know, everyone listening to this, people that are not in a relationship but wanting to be in a relationship, to be focused on creating good friendships, to be focused on, you know, creating good relationships with people around you. Because I think it was so much harder for me because I had so many great friends in South Africa, and still do. But when you move continents, pretty much, it's hard, you know, out of sight, out of mind. It's you're not able to go to the weekly dinners, or, you know, the time zone is hard. And it's really like I had to pretty much start all over when I moved to a new country. And that can lead to a new city or a new job or a new role. But I was just so focused because I said, before I find my future husband, I want to have my own community of people. And yes, I'm still working on that community of people, even being married. I think it's so important not to put all your joy in one person. I believe that, as a Christian, I believe that your joy, ultimate joy, comes from one person only, and that is God. But it's easy for us to put our joy in one person. And therefore, I think it's so important, even when you're married, to still work on creating a community of people that care for you, that love you, that will hold you accountable because they care and love you.
Oh, that is so good.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that helped me. So I know that that's going to help a lot of our single
And I know
listeners.
that's harder. That's way harder to do than to say. So, I always try and be realistic too, but I know it's easy to say and hard to do.
I love that. But instead of focusing on the dream list guy, focus on being your own dream list. Like, who is that person that you want to be, that you have, like, I envision myself as this, 1, 2, 3, like focus on that list. And I think that that's so, so powerful.
So we're going to put the laundry list together.
What do you mean?
For you.
Oh, I already have my own laundry list for my guy.
For your own.
I just got to continue ticking off, which I'm doing.
Yeah, you are actually.
I really am. Like every day, I feel like I turned 30 in April, and it's so crazy when you turn 30. And she always told me, when you turn 30, like, it's going to be the best time in your life, and you're going to feel so, and I'm like, holding on to dear life to my 20s. But let me tell you, Demi, I'm just like obsessed with being 30. I'm like, what is it? Dirty, 30 and thriving? Flirty.
Dirty. No, it's not dirty.
Flirty,
it's
30 and thriving.
It's from the movie 13 going on 30.
I remember. I've seen that Pinterest quote.
Yes.
Some of your items that you're working on.
Ooh.
What are some of my items?
Yeah.
Definitely, I feel like owning my independence completely, being authentically me, the complex me that I am, because I was always a person, I'm very balanced. So like, I'm a little bit of everything. And sometimes society or people make you feel like you have to be one thing, right? So like, you have to be classy, but at the same time, I'm also a person that loves to go and jump on a horse and being okay with that. Like, I can be like this and I could also be like that. So like, really owning who I am as a person, and also like financial independence, becoming very abundant. Mel and I grew up in the Hollywood kind of entertainment world and had that starving artist mentality for so long. And so it's really stepping into my worth and ultimately really loving myself. Yeah. Just being in love with who I am, my flaws and all. And
you're amazing. So you should love yourself.
You're amazing too. And Demi's amazing.
I know.
And I'm just so, honored that you shared this time with us and really spoke about human trafficking. And I really want our listeners to know directly from you, what is it that they can do today that can help you on your mission of combating human trafficking, and also just in general? What is something that our listeners can do today? Because I would love to end on that note.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking. And like I said earlier, I think so much of the time we want to do good. We want to add to someone's life. We want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. But sometimes that's hard because we feel like we need to do something extravagant to make a meaningful difference. And I don't think that is true. There are so many amazing organizations out there that do amazing work to combat so many evils, specifically human trafficking. I specifically work very directly with the Tim Tebow Foundation, but I know that there are many organizations out there that do amazing work. So, go and do a little bit of research. Go and find an organization that you resonate with, that you relate with. There's various different ways that you can get involved with it. It's volunteering, whether it's giving financially. I know at the Tim Tebow Foundation, we on the website, we have a rescue team, because we had so many people that reach out that said, how can we get involved? You know, we might not be able to give financially, but we'd like to contribute. How can we do that? And so we set up a rescue team where you can be an advocate, where we teach you, we give you the tools on, you know, how you can share with your friends, with your family, with your social media followers. We share graphics that you can use, you know, where we set that up. We share weekly information with you to help educate people, because I believe education is power, and knowledge is power, right? And the more we know, the more we can act on what we know. So that's one thing. You can be an advocate. You can be a prayer warrior. We send prayer requests of, you know, various different survivors that are going through hardship, perhaps in, you know, physical interventions that will be happening with teams that we work with. And then you can be a defender. So where you can give financially. That's, you know, obviously a big way. Once we've been able to get survivors to being a survivor, they need long-term restoration, and that is something else that we are involved in. So I can obviously speak from our end. We really are focused on a holistic care, from prevention to helping families be strong, secure families, to helping families not be vulnerable, to the physical extraction of victims, into the long-term restoration and care of survivors. So those are various ways that people can get involved. It's called the Rescue Team. It's on the timtebowfoundation.org. I post about it a lot on my social media. There's a link in my bio. So it's really easy to just, you know, do research, find an organization that you resonate with. Don't have to do something extravagant. We don't have to all start our own foundations to make a meaningful change. And I know that's something that I personally struggled with when, you know, especially after I handed over my title as Miss Universe. I was like, oh, I have to start my own foundation. I have to do my own thing. And I realized, well, there's so many organizations that are doing the same thing that I am doing. Why not just take hands and work together? Because I believe we're stronger when we're together.
Yes.
We really, really are. Oh, Demi, you're amazing. And, you know, what I loved about our conversation today is that, you know, a lot of people turn away when God puts a calling in your heart and it's heavy, right? Like the mission that you're on is a heavy one, and it takes a lot from you, from not just a spiritual level, but a mental and emotional level. But, you know, you stepped up to the plate and you accepted the calling, and you're going to achieve this mission. And I think what you have proven is that no matter how big or small the mission is, answer the call. We're here for a purpose. We're here for a reason, and we need to just accomplish whatever is placed on our heart. And we're just so glad and grateful that we got to know you on a deeper level, from who you truly are, beyond the crown, as I like to call it. And you're just amazing, and we're so grateful for you.
Oh, I'm so honored. Thank you guys for having me. And you guys are just so beautiful. I'm like, can we just be best friends now?
Yeah, we are. We're in Florida. Like literally, road trips are my thing.
Neighbors, okay.
Let's do it. We're gonna hold you to that.
All right, I'm in.
I love it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Demi.
Thank you for tuning into today's episode. If you want to learn more about Demi and how you can support her work to end human trafficking, please visit demileigh.com.
Subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite platform. This helps us continue to bring powerful conversations just like this to you every single week. And text us to the phone number below for subscriber-only freebies and perks to help you become the best version of yourself.
We encourage you to continue on with this conversation. And we also want to encourage you to keep being the strong, amazing woman that you are, and never forget to live inspired.
Until next time, MW.
Always love,
Melissa
and Stephanie CARCACHE.